when we are trying to retrieve an article from, I don't even know why I'm saying that because I didn't even put that in the script. That has nothing to do with that, but that would. Hi, and welcome to the Babbel channel. I'm Jennifer, an instructional designer and linguist here at Babbel's headquarters in Berlin, Germany. Today we're going to be talking about gender in language. And our topic for today is not about gender identity and gender pronouns. That's a topic for a different episode. So we're looking specifically at the function of grammatical gender, such as articles and nouns in languages across the world. So what do we mean when we say gender? We're not talking about social gender. We're talking about something else entirely. We're talking about grammatical gender. Grammatical gender is actually a subset of an organization of nouns in a language. It's sometimes referred to as a noun class system. And yes, while potentially some of the nouns in a certain gender class may have something to do with nouns that are typically, say, feminine or masculine, for the most part, it has to do with similarities in meaning or similarities in sound. And approximately 25% of the world's 7,000 plus languages mark gender on their nouns, which means that the nouns may end with a particular suffix, or that articles or adjectives that are attached to those nouns are going to also have specific endings or beginnings to match the gender of the noun. So take, for instance, German. German has 3 gender categories: masculine, feminine, and neutral. And when we use a feminine noun, such as Frau, the feminine article, die, is going to always be associated with the feminine nouns, just like der, the masculine article, is associated with masculine nouns. But masculine, feminine, and neutral is something that a lot of us probably have already heard before. There's lots of languages that use those 3 categories. So, for instance, we have a language like French that does have personal nouns that are definitely gender specific, like sœur, which means sister, and that's feminine, or frère, which means brother, and that's masculine. But the other nouns that are part of those gender categories don't have anything to do with things that we associate with being masculine or feminine. There are languages like Gerbil that have 4 gender categories. And Gerbil is actually one of my favorite languages. It's an Aboriginal Australian language, and it actually has a gender category that links women with fire and water and violent events and other dangerous things. Whereas the category that classifies men and all animate objects is completely separate. And a 3rd category links things like edible fruits and vegetables. And then the 4th category pretty much is everything that doesn't fit into one of the other 3 categories. And then we see also some languages that have a little bit of a mixture, where, for instance, personal nouns are classified for gender, whereas inanimate objects are not, or potentially the other way around. We also see certain languages, such as English, that seem like they might have some sort of grammatical gender, because there are certain noun pairs where we use one version of the noun to talk about referents that are men and one version of the noun to talk about referents that are women. So, for instance, steward and stewardess, or waiter and waitress. But technically, English is a natural gender language, which means that we only refer to the gender of individuals, so actual human beings, but none of our other nouns are classified for gender in any other way. Even though technically English used to have grammatical gender, we used to have masculine, feminine, and neutral up until the Middle Ages, and we sort of lost that after English came in contact with Old Norse. And English is not the only language like this. There are other languages, such as Turkish and Finnish, that don't even classify human reference as having gender. So, for instance, pronouns in Turkish and Finnish don't indicate whether or not the person being referred to is a man or a woman. They just don't do it at all. So, are there any advantages to gender marking in a language? So, open questions aside, we do know that there actually are some processing advantages to gender marking. So first of all, when you are in a conversation and you need to be able to understand what the person who you're speaking with is talking about quickly, there are some clues in a sentence that actually help you to retrieve information from your memory a little bit more quickly. I mentioned German earlier, that the articles in that language are also marked for the grammatical gender of the nouns that they accompany. And so when you have clues as to the grammatical gender of a noun that's coming up in a sentence, then your brain can immediately activate just part of your mental dictionary and eliminate the rest of it. This makes retrieving information from your memory much quicker. It's also a little bit advantageous when you are producing speech. So when you're actually trying to come up with that word that fits that thing that you're trying to say, when you have elements of grammatical gender, you sometimes are able to retrieve that more quickly from your mental database and be able to put it together into a sentence. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'd really like to hear your comments and see what questions you have about grammatical gender. So post them in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe so that you find out when we post our next video.